Hi everyone, I'm Joey V with Viking Productions, and today we're diving into Unreal Engine to create a working button door system from scratch. Whether you're a complete beginner or brushing up your skills, I'll break this process into simple steps so you can follow along. I'll also cover why each step is important and share tips for making your mechanic more polished. For additional resources, check out the links in the description. This project uses Unreal Engine's first-person template as a starting point. Why? It saves time because it already includes basic character functionality like movement, jumping, and looking around. You can find this preset when creating a new project under the template area. I duplicated the preset map to ensure I had clean workspace to work in while keeping the original lighting and first-person blueprints intact. Starting with this template, let us focus on building the button door mechanic itself. Here is the player character blueprint BP first person character. This handles the player inputs like moving and interacting with the environment. To interact with the button, we need to add a custom input action. Here's how to do it step by step. First, go to your content browser and find the input folder. Inside, you'll see an input mapping context called IMC_default. This is where all player inputs are defined. I created a new action called IA Interact and assigned it to the E key. This mapping tells Unreal Engine to trigger our interaction logic whenever the player presses E. Next, let's look at the action itself. In the Actions folder, you'll find IA_Interact. This is where you define how the input works. I set it to a digital Boolean input, meaning it acts like an on-off switch. I also check Consume Input to ensure this action doesn't interfere with others. With this setup, we can now connect the input to our button blueprint. Before working with final assets, I started with block meshes. These were simple placeholder shapes like cubes and planes that allow you to prototype your system. Why use block meshes? Well, they're lightweight and quick to adjust, making them perfect for testing mechanics before committing to detailed models. For this project, I used block meshes for the door, button, and surrounding environment. Now, let's build the door blueprint, which controls the door's movement and state. Here are the key components: a static mesh for the door, a scene component called hinge, which serves as a pivot point for rotation, variables like isDoorOpen and isDoorMoving to track the door state. Instead of rotating the door mesh directly, which would cause it to rotate around its center axis, I used a hinge scene component. This makes the door rotate realistically around one edge, just like a real-world door. The timeline node drives the door's rotation. It outputs a float value over time, which we use to rotate the hinge from 0, closed, to 90 degrees, open. The toggle door event ensures smooth operation by checking if the door is already moving and toggling its state accordingly. The button blueprint handles interaction and visual feedback. Here's what you need to set it up: a static mesh for the button, a light component that changes color to indicate the door's state, a door reference variable to link the button to the correct door. When the player presses E, the Activate Button event is triggered. This animates a button using a timeline, then sends a signal to the door blueprint to toggle its state, while updating the light color to reflect whether the door is open or closed. To make the player interact with the button, I used a line trace. This checks for interactable objects nearby in front of the player when the E key is pressed. If the line trace detects a button, it triggers the Activate Button event. Debugging is crucial when working with line traces. I use print string nodes to confirm when the button was detected, and visualize the trace to ensure it aligned correctly with the button. One challenge I had was sound stacking when the button was pressed multiple times. I fixed this by adding a Boolean to ensure the sound only played once per interaction. Another improvement would be syncing the door animation perfectly with the sound effect by adjusting the timeline length. The final result is a fully functional, polished, button door system. It's responsive, modular, and ready to integrate into any Unreal Engine project. My next project expands on this mechanic with a door that sinks into the ground as the player approaches. If you've been here this long and you're excited to learn how to create it, might as well subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and feel free to share. For free guides and resources, visit bykinggameproductions.com. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next.